Conservative new media viewers and JLin fans around the world, what is up? It's me, PFE, Paul F. Villarreal, and we're here to talk about Houston's victory tonight, 116-112, over the Golden State Warriors in Oakland, California. With the victory, Houston improves to 16-8 on the season, and the Warriors fall to 13-11 at home. Okay, look, I'm not going to do a whole bunch of stats and everything here. I think anybody that watches this game, you probably already know what I'm going to talk about, and we're just going to get right to it. I will say this quickly. Patrick, his efficiency for the game was 21. He played really well. Jeremy's efficiency for the game was 3. Stephen Curry, starting point guard for the Warriors, his efficiency was 16. Klay Thompson, starting shooting guard for the Warriors, his efficiency was 13. So Patrick clearly was the best point guard in this game. And let me just say, he played great. He was important in this game. The team needed him, and he came through. And, I mean, he really came through huge in this game. He had like 4 big shots down the stretch when Houston needed it. Look, this was probably the most frustrating game of the whole year for me, and probably for a lot of you too. More frustrating than the Dallas game, when Jeremy had, 17 minutes and like 1 point or whatever. The reason why I say that is this game was on national TV, and we talked about the whole scenario where Jeremy could come back from the injury and his level of play wasn't what it was before. And so everything that could go wrong tonight for a JLin fan went wrong. Jeremy had some tough moments. Super Patrick was here. And so this is the whole thing. You're going to hear everything after this game. And we'll talk about it. And I'm not going to make this video too long because I'm frustrated right now. And I don't want to say the wrong thing. But we'll go over what we need to go over quickly. That's why I'm cutting the stats down and everything. And there's also some questions and comment stuff that I want to address, things that you guys have said. Look, here's the deal, okay? When Jeremy had the tough time in this game, and he started out the game playing great. He started out in the first quarter, played extremely well. Hit his first 3, looked good. Looked really, really good. So he had a couple turnovers early or before the fourth quarter. The first turnover was an offensive foul, that's nothing. He was going to the basket, and it was actually a good aggressive play. It just the defender got position, and Jeremy hit him. That's kind of a bang play, meaning that can get called either way. I have no problem with that. That's nothing. The second turnover was Jeremy went to the basket, got hung up a little bit on a drive, and he tried to do one of those little pocket passes. And I think it was either Caspi or Garcia, I believe, and the timing was off. And this is a thing of the guy not knowing where Jeremy's going to throw the ball, etc. It's a type of play where we would like to see Jeremy shoot rather than pass. But the truth was he wasn't in a good position to shoot either. So you want to avoid situations like that. And Jeremy's got to work on that a little bit. And if you're really stuck in that position, either shoot or else pass the ball back out. But, okay, it happens, and that's the way it was. Now, in the fourth quarter of this game is when Jeremy and the team struggled. And Houston went into the fourth quarter of this game up by 9 points. And then Golden State made a run, and it happened in the first 2.5 minutes of the quarter. Jeremy had a couple quick turnovers, and Tony Douglas, who of course is friends with Jeremy from the Rockets, was putting a lot of pressure on Jeremy's dribble. And this reminded me, it was a very tough scenario. So Golden State picked up the intensity. Jeremy looked a little bit out of sorts. The team kind of, their level fell down at the same time. And it was like Golden State made a run. And then before you knew it, it was, it was like 82-81 Houston or something like this. And Jeremy came out of the game with 9 minutes and 25 seconds left. And then Patrick came in. And then Houston held on and they came back. And Patrick was great. And Patrick was clutch. And he was. Like I said, I'm going to tell the truth. Patrick played great in the stretch of this game. He played awesome. He played clutch. He played tough. And he did what he needed to do and what the team needed him to do. So we got to be honest about that. Unfortunately, again, for Lin fans, as I said, this is the nightmare scenario. This is the flashback to Oklahoma City series. This is the flashback to the Dallas game this year. And there's a couple different things here that have to be discussed. Number one, you have to give Patrick credit. This is the thing about competitive Patrick. And Patrick being clutch and hitting big shots. This type of thing. Well, he is good at that. Or he was good at it in this game. And Jeremy needs to get better at that. Now, we know Jeremy can do that because we've seen him do it. We saw him do it in New York, hitting threes against Toronto, hitting the three last year late against Oklahoma City. We know Jeremy can do it. Tonight wasn't his night. But Patrick has been good at this in different spots. He's not always good at it. We know yesterday in Portland he had a couple misses on layups late or whatever. The reason why this becomes the nightmare scenario, so to speak, is because, again, Jeremy's coming off the injury, and so we want to kind of continue what he did earlier in the season. It's on national TV, and Patrick did great down the stretch, and Jeremy didn't. So it's like every possible thing that could go wrong from a Jeremy Lin fan perspective did go wrong. Patrick scored a bunch of points, which we know is not usually his thing. This was like, the third time in 10 or 11 games that Patrick scored in double figures. But everybody saw it, right? Just like we talked about Patrick kind of showing out, trying to do well because last night's game was on TV. Well, so was tonight's game. And so what this does is that every person that's dissed Jeremy Lin and pumped up Patrick, they're all going to focus on this game now. And you need to know that. And people that made highlight videos for Patrick destroys Drew Holiday are going to make highlight videos about this game. They're going to focus on it over and over and over and over again. And this is why Patrick starts. And we told you Jeremy's not clutch. That's why I'm annoyed. It's why you're annoyed too, because you know it's going to happen. And like I said, I have to tell you what's going to happen in terms of narratives and stuff. And I have to tell the truth. Again, I'm happy for Patrick because Patrick played well and the team needed it. I'm annoyed because I know what the haters and doubters are going to do now. And that annoys me. Now, his PER is going to come down from this game. It's not going to come down a ton. I mean, it's going to come down, but just because, there's a bunch of other games. So it's not going to just fall through the floor, but it's definitely coming down after tonight's game. And I will say this. Sampson gave Jeremy a chance in this game. So I'm not going to blame Kevin Sampson for taking him out because once the first run started happening, Houston took a timeout and Sampson stayed with Jeremy. So give Sampson credit. They tried this. And this is where Jeremy has got to continue to improve his game, his confidence level, his skill set, and being able to succeed in these situations. This is when we had the whole discussion earlier this year about Jeremy looking like a YMCA player which, again, is not my phrase. It was a phrase from somebody else. And Jeremy has limitations and the speed of the game. This is the type of situation that I was talking about. Again, I'm honest about it. Not going to, just got to be what it is. Because when you're honest about it, then you can change it. There's little things Jeremy has to do to get better at this. He's got to continue to work on his ball handling. He's got to continue to work on his decision making. He's got to not try to do too much in these circumstances. Don't try to take over. If you're struggling a little bit, start moving the ball around. Just let it flow. Don't try to do everything. Jeremy will get to the point in his career, as long as he's continued to give him the chance, and I'm sure he will be, where he will be able to do well in these situations. So it's not like, oh, Patrick's so clutch and Jeremy can't handle the pressure. Right, Fran Blindberry? We don't know if Jeremy's going to handle the pressure. Shut up. Again, this is the Oklahoma City series nonsense again. But he does need to work on it. And I'm going to tell you that right now. Because this is something that you've seen with him in different instances. And we know he can do it. But he has to keep working on it. And again, it's not that he's no confidence. It's because of thinks a lot, and he'll try to do a whole bunch, and he still has certain limitations in his game, in his skill set, in his confidence in knowing where the teammates are going to be and where to put the ball and this type of thing. So I understand it. And so I talked about this again in the limitations in the YMCA player video. When you have more confidence, when you have more success, you get more confident. So as he continues to do it and his skills get better, he won't have as many issues like this. But for now, it's still going to happen here and there. And tonight was one of those nights. And he does have to keep working at this. He does. And that's the honest truth. On the other hand, this was the second game back from the injury. And when you're off, if you're in a good rhythm, you take time off, you can lose your rhythm. And Jeremy's lost his rhythm a little bit. But that being said, there are longer-term issues here just about Jeremy's game. And how he's got to work with his game, work with his skill set, and increase the skill set. So tonight was it was a tough night. As I said, everything that was difficult for him, all of his flaws came out tonight. And it was on TV, and Patrick did really well. And Patrick got to look more clutch than Jeremy, and he saved Jeremy like he saved Jeremy in the Oklahoma City series, right? So, look, if you don't want to hear all the nonsense, again, don't go to the sites, don't read the articles, whatever. But we will talk about it honestly. This is what it was. And this is something, it's still going to come up. There are still going to be tough games for Jeremy, and there are still going to be nights where the limitations come up like this. And he's got to continue to expand those limits and to work with the limits that are going to remain there. And he can do that. He absolutely can do that, and he will do it. He just needs to continue to play and get more confidence and again, extend his success out a little bit further, and then he'll have even more confidence. So we will get there. But tonight it wasn't good. I mean, it was very frustrating to watch. Extremely frustrating to watch. And that's what it is. Like I said, to me, this is probably the most frustrating game of the whole year. Even more frustrating than Dallas, although I don't know. Maybe I'm just remembering that because this is a fresh thing and the other is a little bit more in the memory banks now and further away from time. And let me just say this too. Golden State looks terrible right now. We talked about in the first game how I told you that it wasn't so much that Houston looked great. It's that Golden State looked bad. Well, they still look bad. I was surprised. I thought you would see a different team today, but you didn't. They don't look good. Earlier in this season, Golden State looked like one of the best 4 teams in the league, along with Miami, Indiana, and San Antonio. Now they look like they might not even make the playoffs. They look horrible. Now, I know they have injury issues to Andre Iguodala and Jermaine O'Neal and a couple other guys, but those are the 2 main ones. They just look awful. They're out of sync. Steph Curry's turning the ball over like crazy. No one can make shots. Again, it's great. Houston played well and all, but just Golden State they just don't look good. They don't look good at all. So I don't know what's going on there, but they don't look good at all. Although they were out on the road. They have played a bunch of road games this year, and I think they just came back off of a road trip. What usually happens in the NBA is that the first game you play at home after a road trip, you don't play well. I don't know why that is exactly, but that's something that kind of holds up. That's something that's been shown to happen a lot in terms of the NBA. So maybe that's the explanation. But they look bad. They really look bad. Okay. Now I want to go over again. That's it. I'm not doing quarter by quarter or whatever. I'm too frustrated right now. Again, just summarizing. This was a nightmare scenario. This is what we were afraid of. Jeremy comes back from the injury. He doesn't play well. Patrick plays great. Everybody, we told you. That's why Patrick's starting. Yay. Bill Ingram and Fran Blindberry get to write their things, and websites get to make highlight videos of Patrick, and that's great. Look, again, I like Patrick. But, again, these videos are about Jeremy and Jeremy and Jeremy Lin's fans. So, just be prepared to be annoyed. But this is why, again, don't get on the roller coaster, the emotional roller coaster, on to the next game. And for Jeremy, work on these things. And part of the work is just move on to the next game. Go out and have a better game and let it go. Whereas, as we know, last year, it was very difficult for Jeremy to do that. Just the one thing I liked about Jeremy a lot in this game, especially early on, well, 2 things. One, again, he got a number of free throws, although a lot of them came late when Golden State was fouling intentionally. The second thing was he was shooting freely, the same way that he shot freely in the Portland game. He wasn't thinking about it, just shooting. Good. That's how you hit shots. I think Jeremy thinks too much sometimes, which is something that's typical for intelligent people. And Jeremy's a pretty intelligent guy. Don't think too much. Just play. And even though he missed some shots, he was just shooting freely. That's what I said in the Portland game. When he took that 3-pointer in transition, that's a confident shot. Like, yeah, I know I can hit this shot. That's how you have to play. And we've heard the teammates and everybody say, Jeremy's great when he plays with confidence. And that is an issue for him. Just let your mind flow. Just let it go. I think Patrick's better at that than Jeremy is. And I did like that Jeremy did that tonight. It's just in that little segment of the fourth quarter, it kind of all, and he's got to work through that in the ways that I said before. And he will, but that's still going to happen. That's still there. And tonight we saw that again. And he has to keep working on it in a variety of ways. Mentally, skill set wise, do a little bit less. Again, you don't have to be the savior of Houston basketball. Just, when you're in a little bit of a funk, pass the ball around, etc. He will get there. It's going to take a little more time. And again, be realistic when you're a fan, when this guy's just coming off of injury. You can lose your rhythm. You can lose your groove. I've seen some of the greatest players that have ever played the game just go in huge funks. Ray Allen, the best three-point shooter in terms of made three-pointers in the history of the game, a couple of years ago, it's like half a season, everybody thought he couldn't play anymore. And they called it he lost his game. But then he found it again. So Jeremy he's going to be okay. He's going to be okay. It's just frustrating because we're almost through this as fans, and then it comes back. And this is what annoying, because we know the doubters and the haters they're going to try to bring it back on purpose. You see, it's the same thing, even though it's not the same thing. As long as it exists, they're going to play it up and make it bigger than what it is. And that's the annoying part. It's like we thought it was finally gone, and now it's back again. And Haterland is going to make a huge deal out of it. And again, they're going to make a huge deal out of it by highlighting Patrick to compare and contrast. Clutch Patrick versus choker Jeremy. That's how you do it as a hater. And that's what's going to happen. I said, ignore it, and let's move on to the next game. Hopefully Jeremy has a little more rhythm. He plays well, and then it's over again. But the longer-term issues they are there, and they do have to be worked on by Jeremy. Even if it's just mental stuff, but it's not just mental stuff. It's skill set stuff. It's mental. It's skills work. It's again, it's just way you're playing the game. Again, take the focus off of you and move the ball around when you've lost your flow a little bit. It's a whole bunch of things, but I'm still as confident as ever, Jeremy. But that little bundle of stuff is something that's still there for him. And he's just going to have to keep working through it. And there will come a time, if he keeps working through it, where it won't be there anymore. Or it'll be much, much less than what it is now. But we just have to wait until that time comes. And for Jeremy and his team, they just have to keep working at it, which is exactly what they did this summer. They went to work, and you saw the results, and I'm sure that will continue. And that's it. Okay, comments and questions stuff. Number one, people said, why did Jeremy play so little against Portland? There's a couple reasons for this, in my opinion. The number one reason is, one, Sampson's coaching. So his rotations, his substitution pattern, when you take guys out, is totally different. It was different than what McHale does. If you looked at the game tonight, what McHale usually does, like the end of the third quarter, it'll be a lot of times Patrick and Jeremy, or certainly to start the fourth quarter or whatever. Or no, the second quarter, excuse me. First quarter end going into the second quarter start. Well, tonight, instead of Patrick and Jeremy starting the second, it was Jeremy and James. So in other words, it's just a different pattern than what McHale's doing. And as I told you last night, the person I felt the worst for was Aaron Brooks, because he went from playing some to now he's not playing at all. So I don't think it was a super scheme against Jeremy. It was more like, this is what Calvin Sampson wants to do. And Jeremy was good in the game yesterday, but he had his moments. And again, I thought he looked a little slow on defense. The game was very competitive. And so you don't want to wait for a guy to be up to speed in a tough game like that. You want to go with the guy that's already in rhythm, the guy that hasn't missed any time. So honestly, I really wasn't that upset. I just figured this was Jeremy's first game back, and he didn't play a ton. And I didn't expect him to play a ton. A lot of times you just kind of work your way back into the rotation. So don't worry about it. I wasn't too freaked out about that. Look, Jeremy played 21 minutes tonight, and he could have played more, except, he had a tough stretch there at the beginning of the fourth. And so, let me see here. Patrick played 30 minutes. So it wasn't like Patrick played 40 minutes and Jeremy played 15. This was relatively close tonight, which it doesn't surprise me. Now, people talking about trades, okay? Trades to New York for Jeremy, trades to the Lakers. Let's go over this really quickly, all right? I don't think Jeremy's going back to New York because I don't think Jim Dolan, the owner, would take him back. Because I don't think Jim Dolan wants to admit that he made a mistake, which, in my opinion, he clearly made a mistake as regards Raymond Felton and not retaining Jeremy. I could be wrong about that. I know that James Dolan just vetoed a trade for Kyle Lowry today, apparently. Maybe he is holding out hope for Jeremy, but I don't think that's going to happen. If it happens, I think it's great. I just don't think it's going to happen. Although, you never know. Maybe if they get a new coach and they kind of start from scratch, maybe they do bring Jeremy back in. I don't expect it to happen. I really don't. Trade to Los Angeles Lakers. Look, look, there's a natural thing here, right? There's two things with this. Number one is you're going to a big market, which a more diverse market, and maybe there'll be better fan base as compared to Houston, as many of us feel, including me. We haven't been really thrilled with the Houston fan base as regards Jeremy. So you get in these more bigger markets, bigger areas, and maybe it's just a better mix of fan for somebody like Jeremy to succeed and be appreciated. Obviously, New York is like that, and so is LA. Here's the problem with that, though. The problem is, in two words, Kobe Bryant. And what I mean by that is Kobe doesn't do great, in my opinion, with ball-dominant point guards. Kobe's used to playing with guys like Derek Fisher, who isn't a guy that dribbles the ball and is controlling the ball a whole bunch. Well, if you have Mike D'Antoni there, of course, that's a reason why a lot of you want Jeremy to go there, because he did well under Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni's system is you give the ball to the point guard and they create everything. Well, that's not how Kobe plays. Most of the things go through Kobe. And so even if Jeremy went there, it's probably not going to be like New York because Kobe's going to have the ball a whole bunch. So I don't know if that situation is really going to work for Jeremy right now. It might work when Kobe retires, but that's not for a couple years. Kobe just signed a new 2-year extension after this year. So he's got this year plus 2 more years. And I don't think anybody is going to be having the ball very much except for Kobe Bryant in the next couple years. So I don't know if that's a good situation for Jeremy, although otherwise it would be great. Mike D'Antoni and a huge market with a fan base that might work better, might be a better fit for Jeremy. So unfortunately, I don't think either one of those things is going to happen. I wish it would, or I could think it'd be cool if it did, but I don't know if either one of those are going to realistically happen. Another comment: why does Houston have such a short rotation? Now, what that means, a short rotation means they don't play a bunch of guys. And what that means is most teams' rotation, the number of men that you use is usually somewhere between like 8 men, and it could be as much as like 11. Maybe so somewhere to 8 to 10, 8 to 11. Short rotations usually happen when the coach only trusts a certain number of players. So if the coach only trusts 8 guys, then he's only going to play 8 guys. If he trusts a couple of other guys, then he'll play 10 guys or 11 guys. Usually you see short rotations on teams in games where it's really competitive. So like in a Portland game, whatever, you're not going to use a bunch of guys because you really want to win, and you're not sure if a couple of the other guys on the bench are going to play well enough. And you also see shorter rotations on the road because the general rule is that bench players or role players play better at home than they play on the road. And again, if you have a fill-in coach like Sampson, he might play fewer guys just because he wants to win and do well and look good, and he's not as comfortable with everybody on the team. He's comfortable with 7 guys or 8 guys. We've talked about this before, too. There's a whole bunch of really good point guards in the league. I told you about Jordan Crawford in Boston right now. Look, it's a tough time for Jeremy. This is probably the most talented group of point guards all around the league that there's been in a very long time. If it wasn't like that, then Jeremy would have much more opportunity right now. But it's okay. He can still keep playing his game. Okay, these last 2 games haven't been the greatest games Jeremy's ever played in, but we know how good his PER is. We know how well he's played this year. So you might have to wait a little bit of time. You might have to bide your time. Maybe you play out your contract, look at your options. Just keep working on your skill set. So we talked about earlier, there's plenty to work on, and that's okay. Everybody's got plenty to work on. Just keep improving your game so that when the time comes, you'll have your opportunity. And he's doing really well at that, so just keep going. Now, I know a whole bunch of people were mad yesterday, and they want to give up on the Rockets, and they're so mad, and all this is despair, just like the way I feel right now. And many of you feel annoyed after this game. Don't get too into that. Remember, it's just one game. And a lot of this, I'm talking about the Portland game. Oh, Jeremy got dissed and he only played whatever he played, 17 minutes or whatever it was. No, it's exactly what I said. Competitive game on the road. Jeremy's just off of injury. Interim coach. Don't worry about that. Jeremy's going to get his time. Just one game at a time. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. So the Omer Asik latest. I'm sure you guys have heard stuff. We talked about it. The Cleveland stuff. There's just more stuff coming out. Again, the good thing about this, and now they're talking about Paul Millsap from Atlanta. I don't know if that's going to happen. If it did happen, it could be really good. But I don't know if it's going to happen. But the good thing about this is this should be done within the next 7 or 8 days. And then it's done. Now, look, if you have games like this or stuff, yeah, there is the chance Jeremy could get traded. They don't need him. They're cool with Patrick and whoever. Or maybe they want to get Rondo, whatever. So we'll have to see. But as the first thing, as we said, the first step is deal Omer Asik. And then we go from there. Then we have to see what happens after that gets accomplished. And again, you're going to hear a whole bunch of things and different rumors and different things about that between now and when that actually gets done. Okay, the next game is in the United States on Sunday, December 15th against the Sacramento Kings in Sacramento, California, and it'll take place at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which means the game will take place on Monday, December 16th at 7 a.m. in Taipei, Taiwan. It is right now 2:01 a.m. early Saturday, December 14th here on the East Coast of the United States, which means it is 3:01 p.m. Saturday, December 14th in Taipei, Taiwan. Thumbs up, thumbs down, your comments below. We'll have information about the game in the video description below the video player. We'll also have information how you can come and join the Conservative Media Facebook group and follow us on CNM JLin Vid's Twitter account. Let me just say this really quickly, too. There's a bunch of great stuff that's said on Twitter. Mayday, I believe, is her name. Great comment that you had to Inside Hoops. Inside Hoops had that little fact. They said, James Harden, blah, 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 this better than Jeremy Lin. And then it was just as silly. Per game. Well, yeah. Of course his numbers are better per game. He's playing like 9 more minutes a game. You can do a lot more in 9 minutes when you have 9 more minutes to do it in. But then Mayday came back with, and I hope I'm getting your name right. Sorry if I'm not. Came back with, well, yeah, here's all the things Jeremy's better at than James Harden this year. And so I was like, yeah, I mean, this is why we say it's important to challenge these narratives. and to get the truth out there so that this nonsense doesn't get out there, or that these narratives don't win the day and are the only thing out there. I know there's a new narrative. Hey, Houston's defense is so much better the last couple of weeks. Well, yeah, take a guess why that's coming out now. Well, geez, who's been out for a couple of weeks? Yeah, boy, the defense has really gotten better since then. You know what I mean? And again, why do you do that? Part of the reason why you do that is because Patrick hasn't been putting up any numbers. And so, okay, well, the defense is so much better. Everything's good now. Yeah, and it's been good just when Jeremy's out. Isn't that a weird coincidence that narrative's coming out now? So this is how it goes. This is how the game is played in the media, right? And on the internet, just from people that aren't in the media, but people are trying to push a perspective. I know Grace over on JLin.net and different people talking about some little battle at Clutch fans between, I guess, Torakan and Meh about, Beverly versus Lynn. Well, this is how it works out. You pick your stats to pump up your guy, and the other guy picks up his stats to pump up his guy. This is how it goes. So if you want to defend Jeremy, you find out the information, you find out the stats, and you put it out there. So that when Jonathan Feigen comes with something like, we can't change the lineup now because it's been so great against San Antonio and Memphis in the preseason. We can't change it now. Or when Jonathan Feigen says, the Rockets have scored, they've doubled up the point total against their opponents in the games when Jeremy comes off the bench. That's how it works. Okay? It's almost like, the concept of like an arms race. One country buys a bunch of weapons and the other country's got to, keep up with that. Well, it's just like a statistics arm race. Doubters and haters are going to come up with their stats, and you've got to come up with your stats. And that's part of why we do these videos, is to do this stuff, is to kind of correct the narrative and give another perspective from that stuff. And that's what you guys are doing, which is exactly what Mayday did on Twitter, which was great. Inside Hoops is trying to run this stuff, and you counter it. You counter it. And people will see it. As I've said to some and different people will see the stuff. So get out there, find out the information, spread it around to other Jeremy Lin fans, create your own echo chamber, meaning you're bouncing off the message and it's getting repeated and magnified, and put it out there. But coming back to tonight's theme, the other side is going to had a big night tonight. Doubterland had a big night tonight. So you're going to hear about that. You're going to hear about that the same way that if Jeremy had a big night, we would be talking about it. All of us. So when that happens, just again, you tip your cap. And again, Jeremy and Patrick are teammates and we're happy. I like Patrick and I'm glad he did well. But you tip your cap and you move on to the next night. And you work on your game and you go to work and you move on until it's your time again. And that's it. And that's what you got to do, and that's how it works. So, okay, I hope everybody's having a good night or good day wherever you are around the world when you're watching this video. Again, I am PFE Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. Thanks for watching Conservative New Media. We do strive to be the #1 Jeremy Lin YouTube fan channel. Hang in there. This is a tough night, but it's just one night, and looking forward to better things against Sacramento on Sunday. And we'll just go from there. And look, Jeremy's doing what he has to do. When you come back from injury, you got to work through it. Just kind of find your groove again. Jeremy's doing that. Just keep moving. Let's just go on. Like I said, Jeremy started this game great. So hopefully he'll just be able to continue to find his rhythm and get even more rhythm and start getting back to what we know he can do and what he was doing earlier in this season. And I expect that to happen. I think we're going to see more and more of that as we keep going forward. So, okay, take care. We will talk to you again soon.